Father John Misty with Chloe and the Next 20th Century. Whew, okay. I mean, Father John Misty, Josh Tillman, made a lot of music. We've reviewed him quite a bit here on the podcast at this point. I feel like we have at least 2 albums under our belt with him,
The
right?
last two.
And I mean, before that,
Fleet
very,
Foxes.
Fleet Foxes, a lot of projects, made a lot of music in his time. I think he's kind of settled in to being the like, I don't want to say like old statesman of alternative folk rock, but that's kind of where he's at. But he does continue to find like interesting like lanes to kind of vary things up, I think. And he takes a very I don't think cruise is the right word. He takes a very interesting perspective in his songwriting, bringing some humor and some real critical eye to the state of the world. That continues on Chloe in the Next 20th Century, but he just takes a step backwards into like old time show tunes and real folk rock. And
Yeah.
it's a interesting mix. I think it blends pretty well. And for my laid back, more low key musical leanings, which I tend to kind of lean on, especially when I'm working or just kind of chilling at my house, I think I'll probably run this album back more than some of his other stuff because it's nice to listen to.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna guess you did not enjoy this that much.
No, I didn't really love being thrown into Marvelous Mrs. Maisel or Mad Men all of a sudden. Just not what I expected there. On the other hand, hats off. Like, it's a real committed thing. It almost fits his like trollish personality that he brings to his artistry. Totally get
The
it.
way you put it.
I totally get it. It makes complete sense. Thing is, like, I really enjoyed God's Favorite Customer, the last record from
Mm-hmm.
2018. A song like Mr. Tillman, I thought was like super catchy. This is not trying to be that, which is totally
No.
fine. It just also does not for me. And I think that's the thing. It's like all this, like, clearly like 1930s, 50s, 40s, whatever, like show tuney old school pop music. It sounds good the whole time. I think for me, it definitely blended together, and I just had a hard time like zooming in to like hear his lyrics because I know the lyrics are there, and I know he's gonna have this like matter of fact personality and bring that into his songwriting in funny ways. But I just couldn't connect with the music enough to like really listen hard enough. So why don't you take this one? Just because like I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, well, I have to say, I think his albums are the kind of things that you really need to like sit down and really like dig into the lyrics to really, I
Mm,
think, get all of it. So after listening to the album only one time before we record, I don't know if I can speak too much to some of the great lyrics, but I do think for me, the times on this record that I found myself connecting with the songs more and really enjoying it were when he leaned more into the folkiness of it. So like the second track, Goodbye Mr. Blue, is like a pure acoustic guitar track. Um, it's really, really beautiful. I actually think this might have been one of the singles
yeah, it was.
off this, and it's really just a beautiful song. And Josh just really, I think, croons over this in a really nice way with a beautiful build up throughout the song, kind of leading to like the dropout for like only the acoustic guitar by the end, and then like a couple tracks later, quarter four kind of has this lead up into like a more toned down middle and then kind of builds back up to this like more full sound, and I really love that track right in the middle. It actually brings in a little bit of country into it a little bit, which I think adds a nice energy to it. But yeah, like the moments like trying to think, like Funny Girl didn't totally work for me. It's just almost like too like early 20th century like show tuney for me. I think Chloe is interesting off the top. I mean, that's probably the most committed he is to the bit right at the beginning, and I think that's like at least a fun track to like bob to. It actually reminds me of a song from Jesus Christ Superstar, which is obviously biting off a couple other of like old time show tune songs, but I appreciated him going for it. um yeah, I think overall I think you described it well, because this is a track or an album that for me, I'm gonna put on, I'm gonna have in the background, and I'll tune into moments, and I'll laugh at a line or two there, and then I'll probably tune back out and do whatever I'm doing. So this, in a lot of ways, will be like an album I probably run back and hear a lot, and it'll grow on me even more over time. But I think for now, I'm just kind of like, this is solid. I really appreciate that he continues to like push himself to do
Hmm.
weird stuff. And I mean, I did not expect that this was what we were going to get from him. So I
No.
appreciate the subversiveness, if nothing else.
Yeah, totally. I'd say for me, the song that I like the most is probably Q4, just
Yeah,
sonic standpoint. But yeah,
that
overall, like it's definitely impressive thing to put out. And I guess that's what people
yeah.
expect from Father John Misty. You never actually know what you're gonna get.